everyone. Welcome to 5 More Minutes, the show where dos amigos relive their childhoods, or in some cases, learn about everything they missed out on. I'm Kendra,
And I'm Scott.
and I have video game boy hair when I take my headset off.
Video game boy hair? Oh, just from
Yeah, like I
it being
kind of
around your
tried to
ears.
take a picture, but I don't think I took it from a good angle. I just texted it to you. But I washed my hair literally like 5 minutes before I went to bed last night. And it's like in the slightly too long phase. So it was like very cray cray all
Nice.
day. Yeah.
Great
I
all
tried to
day.
do boy video game facial expression in that picture too, but I don't know if that
Boy
came
video
through.
game facial expression.
Well, like the characters are always like, like they have like wide eyes and they're like surprised,
Sure,
you
yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally a
Well, I
thing.
mean, it makes sense to me, but
It's a Kendraism.
whatever. Um Well, I scoured the internet trying to find funny news articles for you to read, but I don't know if they're as funny as the ones that you had me read.
Oh, yeah. I'm not 100% the ones I had you read are even real, but
Yeah, I'm generally in a bad mood because my students don't understand personal space or boundaries or know what respect is. So, and
Sounds about
if
right.
they're listening, they know.
Bitches.
Yeah.
Shouldn't do that.
Yeah. I've had to raise my voice.
Wow.
Yeah, and give a talk about how we don't need to be up here.
Step down off your pedestal. Get
Yeah.
down here.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't put your
Yeah.
phone in my face. No, for real. This one person, I don't think she listens, but she keeps like sticking her phone in my face to take like 0.5 pictures and like literally like right in my face. And I was like, you don't need to do that. But I don't know that it really like got through to her.
So yeah, registers.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
When's your
Okay.
last day?
Wednesday.
Okay. You're almost there.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to grade everything this weekend so I don't have to do it next week.
Nice. Have a nice little
And I
relaxing
had to
week.
cancel my plasma appointment because I had a senior who didn't understand what her final was. And I said it was due after school, but instead she came in after school and stayed until 4. So I canceled my plasma appointment and I didn't want to push my days back. So basically, I lost out on $120 this week because she didn't like it was so stupid. Like it's just a
Sounds like it.
portfolio where you like revise your previous essays and then put everything together and then you write a reflection. So not only did I stay until 4, she also only got like a 65% on it because she didn't do like half of it.
Solid.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna send you the email with the things.
Okay. With the news articles, is that what it is?
Yeah. Also, while I was looking for those, I found one, but it was literally just a headline and it was really funny. But apparently, some lady like thought she was taking a picture of a duck in the grass and posted it on some like municipal. I hate that word.
Municipal.
Like yeah, park page. And then people were like, "That's not a duck. That's a black dildo."
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess from far away, it kind of looked like a duck.
Okay, I got these in front of me here.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You might need to like,
Hello.
clear. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hello. This is Scott with your local news channel. Breaking news today. Woman who rode motorbike naked through town center had sex in high street and punch blind man is jailed. Natasha Klaus, 36, has been barred from the entire town of Woking, Surrey by a judge who described her as a mess.
I thought
Nice.
that one was funny because I was like, how did we get from riding the bike naked to having sex on the street?
Well,
Like,
yeah, it's
there's
supposed
just
to be sex on High Street because it says sex in High Street, and that threw me off when
yeah.
I was reading
And she punched a man. So I don't, there's just a
it.
lot going on in that
There,
one.
that is a lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Florida man wearing nothing but cowboy hat attacks woman with machete. semicolon police. I don't know
I
what's
don't know.
supposed to be after that.
I don't know.
A Florida man today was arrested today in October when police said he attacked a woman with a machete wearing nothing but a cowboy hat. The arrest from Miami-Dade police, originally reported by WPLG, said Roberto Hercules, 45, attacked the woman while she was riding a bicycle. Police said he asked her for a crack pipe, but when she said she didn't have it, he chased her with the machete, the original report said. Hercules was charged with attempted murder, attempted armed robbery, and aggravated battery with a weapon. Hercules has fallen
Yeah.
a long ways from the Disney Channel.
I know. I partially picked that one because of the naked cowboy hat and the Hercules part.
It
Those
seems
are
like
both things that I'm drawn to.
yeah, they have multiple points of interest in them. It seems like
Mhm. Yeah. There's always someone naked.
it's
And
always a Florida man.
yeah, I was having a really hard time. I'd searched like news headline memes and like a bunch of things and I like could not find like what I was looking for. So
Yeah, it's like surprisingly hard to search. You would think if you just typed in like ridiculous or hilarious news stories, like more better things would pop up, but it
I
doesn't really
know. I didn't
happen.
think it was gonna be that hard to find. And I was like, what the hell?
What the hell, bro?
Yeah, bruh.
So yeah, that was your 5 more minutes news broadcast.
Yeah.
Tune in next week.
I need to post a clip of me talking about the dildo.
The donkey dildo.
Hell yeah. It'd be like that sometimes, you know?
Yeah. So I watched
Um
your little video.
oh yeah. It was 3 times as long as the first one.
Oh, was the first one only 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh. And
Um,
so what'd you think? We're talking about the
so
classroom part too.
I
Oh wait,
have
we should give
some
context.
I have
Let me
some
give
notes.
context. I'm gonna give context really quickly.
You give context.
Okay, so in October, my students were like, "Miss, your sophomores suck. We should try to scare them." And I was like, "Perfect. What do you guys want to do?" And then in the span of like 10 minutes, two of my students came up with the idea to make a mockumentary, kind of like The Office, where they're interviewed and they basically explain like why English 10 advanced is important and why my students should like take it seriously or whatever. Um, so but it kind of turned like too funny in that one, right? But then this time we had another hour-long EI, and a bunch of my students were like, "Miss, we should make another mockumentary," and I was like, "Okay, I'll bring my camera, whatever." And in this one, my sophomores were the ones who wanted to be in the mockumentary more so than the upperclassmen.
Hmm.
So I had some of the upperclassmen. Obviously, they were listed as like former student and stuff. And then basically my sophomores, I don't think they realize how true this is. Like it's a mockumentary, but like it's very close to reality. Um, basically the interview was me spiraling and going crazy because of them, basically. Um, and dramatically quitting my job in the middle of teaching. That's pretty much what the mockumentary is. But it's 3 times as long as the first one. I was kind of going for like slight horror film vibes with like the intro and the weak signal like distortiony things to kind of play on me going crazy. And the student who is the problem student is actually the student who is pissing me off by saying all those things about my class, but we're like chill now because we like, you know, we knocked some sense
Right,
into her. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Anyways, that's the context.
Yeah. So it was interesting time. I did have
Mhm.
kind of an overarching question on like the
Uh-huh.
whole thing because I
Uh-huh.
wasn't really sure if it was like, was it supposed to be from your perspective or from the student's perspective?
Well, it's not really from a perspective. I do realize that 95% of the time I am also the interviewer, but you have to pretend that I'm not the interviewer.
Okay.
So it's kind of like um you know, my I am also playing a
A student.
documentarian.
Oh,
But they're
you gotcha.
interviewing me as the teacher in addition to the students. But then I tried to make the other ones look like just like film. I, like clips of me teaching. I tried to change the effect on those so it seemed more camera like. I am really
Yeah.
mad though because I didn't find the good filming spot in my classroom until like the literal last two interviews. And then I was like,
Hmm.
man, that looks so much better and the sound is so much better. I should have filmed everything from here. I think it has to do with the directions of my lights in relation to because they're the big lights
Yeah.
and being a little bit further away from the wall. But
Ah,
yeah, so
okay.
I'm interviewing them, but I'm not actually interviewing them.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, when I guess if someone watched it and didn't really know you, they wouldn't know that. And then they also wouldn't know, I guess, that it was you driving and then walking into the class.
Yeah. I didn't really know how else to do that intro. I also dropped the phone when I went over the speed bump and then had to kind of like splice it weird to make it like look just kind of like staticky. It felt like almost all the way to the floor because my mom's truck is like really low to the ground and I really have to like
Go slow.
if I don't go at the exact right angle, this thing on the driver's side like hits the top of the speed bump.
Oh.
So I have to like really like straighten the wheel like last minute because the speed bump is like right after you turn.
Yeah.
But I actually like delayed finishing it for a day because I wanted it to have a super dramatic intro with kind of like a more mysterious and slightly creepy tone compared to the last one, which was all like happy.
Right. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
see that. And then I did think it was funny that your dash cam like caught a giant bug like
Oh, I
right in
know.
the
Because
middle
I
of
don't know when the
it.
last time this vehicle has been cleaned because no one really
Yeah.
drives it. And I was like, well, whatever.
There's a big old fat bug on there.
Yeah.
So that was pretty funny. That was one of my notes. And then one like fairly early on in the video, someone like comes up while you're like, I think you're mock teaching at your desk
Uh-huh.
in
Mhm.
front of your laptop, and then they like go to shoot over you, and you can just tell you're just like doing this on your keyboard, like you're
Oh,
not
yeah. That
typing
was the
anything.
end of the intro because I was like, I need one of you guys to film me really quickly from landscape view. And I didn't know that she was going to get like
The whole
so
thing.
close. And I had like my email open. So I was trying not to like press too many buttons and accidentally like send a reply to someone that was
Yeah.
just like, and all my students were like, haha, miss your fake typing.
You're like, well, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
it'd be like that.
Um, and then we already talked about you as the documentarian interviewing. Then the only
Mhm.
other thing I had was I think it was is Nate the long haired one.
Yeah, and that's the one who went to the bad friend, or no, not bad friends. Wait, is it
Yeah.
bad friends? I don't remember.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
it is.
that kid.
So I did like the little bit where he was talking about being up for like 24 hours and you hit him with a
Oh,
ball.
yeah.
But he like very clearly said perceptiveness, which is not a word. It should be perception. And I don't know why that bothered me, but it did.
Okay, Nate, you've been called out. It's probably 15-ish minutes into this, and I'm expecting a notification that you commented anyway. So, let us know what you think about that.
Yeah. And maybe it's just because, you were awake for 24 hours and you don't know words
Yeah.
anymore, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, or I don't know, maybe he doesn't know words to begin with. Who knows?
You would know better than I do, I guess.
Yeah. He knows some words, so.
Okay.
But I can't remember if he was talking about that and I actually did it and then we reenacted it or not. I don't remember. But I keep that ball like in my desk because I use it for discussion sometimes.
Just ready to throw.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Instead
otherwise
of a
it
book, I
was
threw a ball.
entertaining. Hmm.
Thanks. I feel like I could quit and be like a video producer. Like it's unfortunate that all these videos are ones that I couldn't like add to a portfolio because they're like students.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, I need to make like a mockumentary with my friends.
There you go.
Yeah.
Serious mockumentary.
Yeah. But my students kept like asking me because it's been like I think we filmed that like April 24th or something, but I've just been so busy I haven't been able to like work on it. There's like, Miss, are you done with the mockumentary yet? And I'm like, no,
Mm,
man, I haven't had time. I've been grading your essay. You know?
uh, yeah. Your dang
Yeah.
essays. School and
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Mm-hmm. And the one video I filmed the girl Hosanna, she was like really close to the air conditioner and I just like couldn't get all the white noise out of that one. I was like, whatever. I was like, why is it so
Oh,
loud back here? And then I
I
was like,
also
oh,
liked
that's where the air blows out from.
oh, the actual vent.
Yeah,
Um
like it's like right behind where she's sitting.
I forget what her name was with a horse girl or whatever. Um
Victoria. She's
so
not
I,
actually a horse girl, but she brushes her hair all the time in class, like very dramatically. So
mhm. Well, I
Yeah.
did think it was really funny because you were like, "Do you want to hear my horse name?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then you did it, and she's like, "Oh, mine's way better." And then you were like, "Well, do it then." And she's like, "No, I don't know how." And I was like, "What?
and
That doesn't
and
make
then
any
the other
sense."
girl over here that you can't see is like, do it, do
Yeah, you have to. You
it.
have to now. Yeah, that was
Yeah, it
pretty
was really funny.
funny.
Yeah, they were, and some of the upperclassmen were just being funny. Like I did actually call that student a verbal terrorist once, and that's just been our
Oh,
like banter back and forth. And they were like, "No, you're a verbal terrorist," and I'm like, "No, you are." And I did refer to myself as a rainbow trout once, also. So
right. Some classroom
yeah,
throwbacks there.
mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty good stuff. I didn't realize it was gonna be that long. I was like, Jesus Christ.
I gotta edit this damn thing.
Yeah, and then some of the clips I didn't put in because this one girl said some things that were like kind of questionable. So I was like, yeah, I had to cut like half of your interview out because you said stuff that probably shouldn't like be in a video. And she was like, yeah, that's fair. And I was like, okay. And then Briseis like couldn't stop laughing. She had
Mm.
that was the one girl who just like put her head down on the desk because she was like uncontrollably like laughing. And then she
Oh.
was like acting afraid. She was like, yeah, she's standing next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I also am pretty sure like people probably heard me yelling I'm quit while I walked out of my room because we filmed that twice because we did it once and then we were like, wait, no, we need to like do this and this. And so I literally was like storming out of my portable, just like yelling, I quit, like really loud.
Someone's like, "Oh
And
wow,
then
rough day."
cheering, you hear cheering in the background. So yeah.
That's
I,
exciting.
I liked the incorporation of the bat and how I'm just like spinning the bat. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fun.
very,
And
very
my
much.
did you notice my after my first interview how it like zooms into the quote where it says I've always wanted to be the root of someone's nightmare?
Yeah, I did notice
Yeah,
that.
that was like the whole reason why I chose to have the camera there so we could have some of the quotes in the background, but that was not a good filming spot. And then I really
Mm,
liked what I did with the one clip where I TV screen thinged it and kept zooming in and did like the voice
TV
edit.
screen thinged it.
Well, like it popped up like 9 images of the girl who's like, you should be scared or whatever. Uh,
Oh, right, right.
yeah, I was proud of that.
Oh yeah,
Self
editing
taught
magic.
film editor, bitches.
Look at that.
Yeah. I guess we can quickly talk about shoes.
Choose
Someone bought my other pair of Dunk Highs only for like
nice.
115, but whatever. That's not that
The
much
Gold
of a
Mountain ones.
yeah. No one's bought these stupid fives yet. I got my trees.
Which fives? You got the blues.
Yeah, I mean I like them, so if like no one buys them, I'll just like wear them. But I need to
Hmm.
like, it wouldn't hurt to like put some more money off of my credit card.
Yeah.
Um, especially with the like shoe purchases that have turned into multiples, like the basically $800 I spent on one pair of Jordan 12s that I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I don't even wear that much because I don't think they're comfortable, but hashtag YOLO. Um, yeah, I love my tree shoes though. They're so amazeballs. And
Amazeballs.
I even left like I was gonna put the white laces in them, but I kind of like the laces that are on them because in the sunlight they like sparkle, kind of like stars in the sky.
Oh, that's
I
kind of
think
cool.
that was like the intention, yeah.
Mm.
And I have those Pride shoes are coming tomorrow. I thought they would come today, but apparently UPS transferred them to the USPS.
Okay.
Don't really know
Sure.
why. Yeah. But I
Just
feel like
cause.
I don't need to buy anything probably, which sucks because those rainbow trout shoes are both the trout shoes, but I think I might wait until the Palominos. Also, I think I might buy some more New Balances if I'm gonna buy shoes because those are like actually comfortable and a little bit easier to wear outfits with.
Yeah. I see. Interesting. So a lot of shoe flying around.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some more eBay drama. It's been fun.
Oh no, did you get more shoes denied?
No, no. So I think it was that same pair that I had talked about before that somebody had denied because they said the condition didn't match the description.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I reposted them and like made it very clear in the description, like, hey, I think that they're new, you know what I mean? But they've been stored in a
Mm-hmm.
box, so like the suede looks a little flat on the
Mm-hmm.
corner.
I
And
mean,
then
that's
someone
kind of how
bought
these
them.
fives looks, and they're only like 3 months old.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
So those were 2013 shoes. I don't know what you expect, but you look at the
Hmm.
soles and you know they've never been worn on the ground.
Hmm.
Um, and so someone else bought them again, and then I sent them in, and then he bought them like I want to say it was like mid-May, and it got to the authenticators. They scanned it in and accepted the shipment, and then it never moved again. Like it just disappeared. And so I contacted them part way through, just be like, hey, you guys have had this for like 2 weeks and nothing's happened. And they're like, oh, yeah, that is weird. Um, but they're like, oh, but they accepted the scan, so they received it. So if there's a problem, you and the buyer will both be refunded, basically. I was like, okay. Um, and then they had him wait until the 31st to file a claim. Like, okay, now it's officially, I guess lost because nothing still happened to it. He did
Hmm.
that. And then they took money from me to refund him. And I was like, hold on, that's not how this works. So then I had to go through customer service and talk through like three departments and finally got to the guy where I was like, hey, I was told that since you guys accepted it and you guys lost it, why would I be paying to refund these? It makes no sense. And I finally got to the right guy and he was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So he had to go reverse the case that was opened against me, even though it was like this super chill guy. And he's like, hey, I'll still take the shoes if you find them. But it doesn't seem like they're coming. So yeah, I want a refund. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you a refund from this guy. And I was like, no, no, no. So that's all sorted out. I guess those shoes are gone. I don't know if someone at authentication wanted them and nabbed them or they just lost them. So
That's weird. I feel like if you were just like losing shoes regularly, you would not be able to be an authenticator anymore.
yeah, I would think so. I don't know who, if it goes to like one person or like a department accepts it or
Every
what.
time I ship them, they go to like Las Vegas. Do yours always go to the same
Yeah,
location when you?
no, they're different. Like
Oh,
if
because
you
like
look at it,
literally,
it's good.
oh, I was like every time I've shipped mine, they've gone to Nevada. Like every single. I mean, it's only been like 3 pairs or something, but they've all
Yeah,
gone to Nevada.
I don't know if they all go to Nevada or not, but you can look at like who it's addressed to, and it goes to like
Yeah,
tons of different
I never
people.
pay attention to that much. They've always been like weird names.
Yeah, exactly. It's always like Sneaker Co, eBay, CO, this guy, and that person changes. So um besides that, it's been fine. I've sold a couple more pairs, but for some reason, those like past 3 weeks, people have just been buying shoes like crazy. So I sold like 5, 6 pairs, and now it's like totally dead again for the last week and a half. But I bought all those Yeezys, and that's pretty much been it. And also learned that my head gasket on my Forerunner is leaking.
Oh,
So that's pretty cool.
those engines aren't supposed to have head gasket
Well,
problems.
I'm lucky like that. So
Mm.
I'm getting that fixed, but that was kind of like, okay, maybe time to sell some shoes and not buy some for a little while.
It
So
doesn't
we'll
even
see
have
what
that many
happens.
miles on it. That's weird.
I know. And while he's in there, he's like, it might as well do the radiator and stuff. So it's like, radiator, water pump, all that normal stuff. We're just gonna do it all. And he's like, besides once you fix that, it should be fairly bulletproof. And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
well,
like my radiator went at like 213. So, and
mm,
I don't know if the water pump and timing belt have ever been replaced. I do think that that's part of the reason why my gas mileage has gone down. But
yeah. And then our hot water heater, I'm watching, but the other day I like walked out to make a coffee after showering, and it sounded like somebody tossed shoes into a dryer. It was like "Dur, dur, 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 dur," and I from the water heater, and it was like loud. And it's like I don't think it's supposed to do that. And it's from 2005 though, or no, not five, 15.
mhm.
No, it is from 2005 because it's 17 years old. Which apparently is at like the end of its life, so we might have to get that done too. So it's been
Nice.
fun couple weeks of dollars.
Did you see that listing I sent you?
Yeah, It's so
That's the,
whack.
the issue. It's either like houses that are like super, super, super outdated. Like almost, I feel like everything in that house would need updated to like live
Mm.
comfortably in it, and it's like $280,000.
Yeah, if that's
Like
280, my house should be like 320.
yeah, like
That's
most
crazy.
of the houses that I would consider like nice are like 320 ish.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So I don't even know like if it's worth it, but like also like I don't have really like money for a down payment, and since all the houses are like twice as expensive as they should be, I would need like help with a down payment because if you have to have like 3.5%, that's still like
Yeah.
more money than I would be able to like save in like a couple months, you know? And I can't like the grant things are weird.
Hmm.
And yeah. And my parents like kind of were like they didn't say like that they wouldn't help me, but they're not being very clear, and that's like something that I need to know like before I do
Well, yeah.
it.
Hopefully you
Like
would have that understanding first.
yeah. Like before I even like do like a a loan thing because like I hate how doing like a pre-approval like dings your credit. Seems so stupid.
Yeah, it's super dumb. I'll never
And
understand the
because of
credit.
my like rental and the small loan I took out and then probably like Nisa's car co-signing, I have like three uh
Like recent inquiries or something
inquiries.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
in 2 years, which is like average. Everything else is like good or excellent. But
Yeah.
like just that account, like opening the car account, like lowered my credit like 8 points. It's still
Hmm.
like in the excellent or I don't know, it's like 750, but like it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I paid off now my credit card's gonna get hit a little bit with this Forerunner stuff, but I had basically paid down my credit card bill to like $500 and my score
Mhm.
went down. It's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
making like constant payments and you're like,
When
oh
when I
no,
because I took that's
don't
what I
do
took out
that.
the small loan for because I had like a bunch on it from grad school. And like I have a bunch on it right now, but not like well, like I have a lot on it right now because of all the shoes, but like it's not easily pay offable like it was with the grad school stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so but my credit limit is like 18 or $20,000 or something. So it's like a small percentage of my credit score, and I'm pretty sure when I paid it off it like lowered it. Only like 5
Hmm.
points or something. Cuz
Right.
like they want you to have cuz
Like
I don't know.
whatever
It's like
percentage they want a
percentage
balance
is
of.
like good because it like shows that you're like a responsible person or
Yeah.
something. I don't
But
know. It's really stupid.
they still want you using it all the time. So
Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah. Um anyways, I guess we've been recording for like a half hour already. I need to start adding like chapters into the YouTube videos.
Chapter
Um
one.
this one is going to Alex and 10 in Las Vegas. But I
Oh,
definitely know that every single shoe I've purchased or I mean sold has gone to Vegas.
Vegas.
None of them have gone anywhere else.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's probably definitely their main authentication headquarters.
Mhm.
Gotta be.
Uh
Nice.
yeah, so I guess
What'd you
that's it.
have planned for today?
Oh, well, let me tell you the journey I went on while
Hmm.
figuring this out.
Okay.
So I uh didn't really know what to do because I'm tired and I haven't had time to think. I think it's the same street. It must be like a building that they work in because they're all
Probably.
Lamb Boulevard.
Like a big old
Sorry.
one.
Anyways, um, so I was like, oh, let's like talk about like new nerd gossip or something. So I was trying to find. I was
Hmm.
literally typed in top nerd stories. This is not what we're talking about, by the way, because I had to take a hard left turn after this. And all the sites I was getting were like literal nerd stories. So like I typed that in literal. I typed in top nerd stories. Clicked on the first link. It's Wattpad, which is like for writing. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and it took me to a page of nerd stories, and these are the top 6. Okay, The
Okay.
number one nerd story is called Bye Bye Virginity. It says,
Okay.
warning, written in 2008, some content may be offensive. Stacy, Stasee, is your typical shy, quiet teenage girl until the night her brother's best friend, Damon Hertz, decides to. Oops, I didn't realize that the description was cut off. Finally acknowledge her existence. In a desperate attempt to gain his acceptance, she allows him to take the one thing every girl values most, her virginity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Number two is simply called Gray.
Huh.
And the username is Sodomite Lover.
Okay.
Um, so this one says, the description just says, in which two boys paired up for an English project unknowingly write love stories about each other and share ideas. The
How are
number
these nerd
three,
stories?
I don't know. The number three nerd story, Our Hearts as One. Glowing hearts are a rare occasion, but not unheard of. After all, it's not every day someone finds their soulmate. Johann Moll laughs at the idea of his heart glowing. What girl would want to spend forever with a nerd like him? Ted
Hmm.
Baxter is the high school jock. Every girl wants to date him, and every guy wants to be him. He acts all hard and tough so no one knows his softer side. Ted desperately wants his heart to glow. When their worlds collide, Johann and Ted must decide to go with this new weird flow or push their worlds back apart. Number
Okay.
4, Promise Me, Box Boy, and it's in parentheses, Box Boy, but it's BOYX, maybe boy by boy. I don't know. I read it
Hmm.
Box Boy. Josh is your stereotypical school nerd. Good grades, always follow the rules, always do their homework, etc. The only thing that makes him different from your stereotypical school nerd is that he is gay. I don't know if that's that different. Clayton is your typical idiotic football player. Never do their homework. A player sometimes even doesn't show up to school. The usual. Also, if the descriptions are written this bad, I don't know how that bodes for
So
the
this
actual
this site seems to just be like love stories between a nerd and a
nerds.
jock.
Yeah, well, there. That's what, but I think that's playing on a specific type of reader,
Ah.
like the closeted nerd and the closeted jock falling in love. You know.
Right.
I'm gonna read two more. Hate That
Okay.
I Love You, and this one has a guy and a girl, so it's not gay. This is the story of two different souls who meet each other at the right time and right place. Damian King. Also, I feel like a lot of names like Damian. Hot,
Yeah.
handsome, and sexy. Not to mention he's rich. Okay. Plus, he played as school football captain and quarterback, a player who loves to play the game of hump and tump. But what happened when he meet the girl? If you write like this in a 50-word description, what does your writing look like?
Yeah.
What happened when he meet the girl who will make him fall for his knees? Will he back out? Will he wants to play?
He wants to
Michaela, a
play.
girl whose world revolves around her school, parents, and best friend Lila. These are not complete sentences, bitch. Go back to high school. All she wanted was to graduate with flying colors. What she didn't expect was a hot, sexy, and devilish handsome quarterback pursuing her till she can't say no.
He's
Will
really
she
hammering that
submit
point.
to him? Will she
Ew,
submit
bad
to him?
language.
Find out their THERE love story
Oof.
here.
Hmm.
Yikes.
I don't like that. I don't like any of that.
Okay. One more. Brains and Brawn, B by B. Okay, I guess that is internet chat speak for boy by boy.
Boy on boy action.
Boy. Based on the prompt, I'm not stalking you exactly. It's just that you accidentally put my notebook in your bag and I'm waiting for a good moment to steal it back before you see the doodles of you I did in it.
Good
Matthew
Lord.
Linwood was a normal teenager, even if most people thought of him as a nerd. He was just trying to go through high school with his two best friends with as little bumps on the road as possible. So what happens when resident quarterback? It's always the quarterback. These
Always.
have to be written by like millennials because I'm pretty sure the Gen Z people are not all about the quarterback.
These all like sound like they're written for like a
In the
90s
mid
movie trailer
2000s
though.
or that, yeah. Yeah. So what happens when resident quarterback Matt's longtime crush Leonard Bryant finds a notebook containing doodles of him inside it? A whirlwind of emotions. That's what. But these were all like this one was written like all the chapters are published like they all seem pretty recent, like within like 6 years.
Wow.
And Wattpad is pretty much just a storytelling website. So I'm pretty sure there's like different genres you can browse. So it's kind of like amateur artists.
I'm gonna say, I guess, and anyone can just post things there.
Yeah. And I don't know if you get paid, if it's kind of like a Substack type thing where you can get paid or not. I'm not sure. It doesn't really say. I mean, I've heard of Wattpad before,
Yeah.
but yeah. So
Wow.
that's what
So
I
that's
found
what
when
you
I tried
found.
to search top nerd stories.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, you went for
Um,
a little ride there.
yeah. Whoa, Wedgie Tales, number 18. Stories about guys receiving wedgies and general bullying for y'all's fetishes out there. Come
Oh,
get y'all's
jeez.
juice, nasty boys.
What the heck? Come on.
I wish I could name that the title of this episode. Episode 92. Come get y'all's juice, nasty boys.
Ugh. I don't
uh,
like that.
anyways, I feel like this is all like 50 Shades of Grey fanfic for nerds.
It sounds like it, yeah. It's
His precious
strange.
mate.
Mm.
Warning, I was really inexperienced when I wrote this and quite dramatic. I understand this book may not be everyone's favorite. Even I cringe when I edit it. My
Ugh.
twin mates and I. Wedgie fantasy, is that a thing? Why are there so many
I,
wedgie stories? If you are a nerd who reads things on Wattpad, please write in. Is wedgies a fetish?
do you like them?
Like, does it turn you on to have your underwear in your butt crack?
I mean,
Let
that
us
would
know.
really turn it back on the bullies, though, wouldn't it? Be like, these guys are actually liking it.
Yeah, they like it when we get racing stripes in our undies from having them too far up our
Ugh.
butthole.
Okay.
I
Spell
don't
it
think I
out.
should have had this coffee.
Getting too fired up.
Listen, I don't know if you grew up with a dad who talked about racing stripes like mine did because he's weird AF, but that was like an everyday terminology used in our house.
Yeah, makes sense. Sounds
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, for my dad or just in general.
For your dad, I mean, I think when
Okay.
our dad would say it, he would just say streaks or something like that.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad's really into racing stripe language.
Really adds
Um
pizzazz.
yeah. So anyways, after trying to find top nerd stories took a hard left turn. I was also thinking about doing an episode about like because it's June about like LGBTQ people in the nerd space, but I think that would
Mm,
require more than 3 hours of
prep.
tired research.
Yeah.
So maybe next time. But I was like, okay, let's take a hard left turn to video game controversies. I don't know how my brain landed on that, but you know,
Just like nerd
uh
wasn't working, let's go there.
yeah, so I don't know. I pulled up like a timeline and then another article. The other article probably has a lot of the ones in the timeline though. But yeah, I played half of the like tutorial mission thingy on Diablo, but I
Oh,
haven't
gotcha.
played anything else. It says I'm 50% done with the
Like
it's
that
not called a
tutorial.
tutorial, but I think it's called something else, but
Yeah. So you at least started it though.
yeah. I think I need to sit closer to the screen. When I play some games like when I play Final Fantasy 7, I can sit on the couch because of like the graphics and stuff.
Yeah, I mean you're
But
so
that
zoomed out in Diablo that
yeah,
it's
and
tough.
it's hard. I am having a hard time getting used to the camera angle. I don't know if I can
Hmm.
change that. I didn't see a way for me to, but
You can. It's always that
yeah, I
way.
didn't think so. But I do like that the enemies drop like potions and stuff.
Yeah, they drop
But
loot.
the
It's
the
good for
first
loot.
time fighting the guy in the like um so like I cleared the dungeony thing where the and then I got drugged by the people. Like I haven't gone into the
Oh,
chapel yet, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
so I didn't understand like I wasn't really paying attention to like I didn't know if the potions went away or not, like if they would just stay on the ground. So I kind of like misused my resources and like when there was literally this much health left, I died. So I had to fight him again. But it was like I killed him really fast the second time because I understood like the
Yeah,
controls better. But yeah, and I need to play Breath of the Wild.
I was gonna ask if you played that anymore or
I
not.
haven't really had time. Last week I brought because my student Nate he got a Switch with his birthday money and got Breath of the Wild, and I'm pretty sure he said he was like almost done with it. And so there was a couple days last week where he was like, "You should bring your Switch and we can play during lunch." And but I haven't really had time to play other than that. So
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, so I'm on a website called the National Coalition Against Censorship.
Okay.
Um, and they have a timeline of video game controversies.
Hmm.
So I thought we could quickly go through it.
Sure.
But this is an organization who envision an American society that understands, values, defends, and vigorously exercises free expression in a just, egalitarian, diverse, and inclusive democracy.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of core beliefs, and they're a nonpartisan organization. I don't know.
Sure.
So the first, so it, I think all the controversies are in red, so it has some stuff in here that are seems like gray. There's like different colors. I know you can't see that, and that's not useful, but there's like light pink, which is I think is maybe not as intense controversies, and then
Yeah.
there's like a darker red, and then there's stuff that's really vibrant red, and then there's gray stuff, which is like law cases or published articles or reports, what it seems like.
Okay.
But just to set the scene before we get to the first controversy, in 1971 is when the first video or first arcade video game was released. Um, the first arcade video game was too difficult to play apparently, and then the following year Pong was
Hmm.
released.
Yeah.
It says it doesn't actually say what the first arcade game was. It just says nutting produces 1,500 computer space. That's probably what it is. Machines.
It says the first arcade game, Computer Space, was
Yeah. Okay.
created by Nolan Bushell and Ted Dabney in 71. The company followed on its success the next year with Pong. So the same people made Pong. Okay.
Yeah, it made it sound like the first game was too hard, and then they like dumbed it down.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. 1972 was when the first home video game Magnavox's Odyssey is released.
Hmm.
Didn't we have an episode where we kind of talked about like old video games or something?
I mean, I know I talked about the like Commodore 64 and stuff like that in the Metal Gear Solid one because that was a pretty early game, but I don't remember if I did anything specifically on like Atari is like really the first
Yeah, I
ones.
feel like I remember talking about some of the old stuff and like looking it up, but I don't can't remember if that was like a full episode or if that was just like me doing a side thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to go through. Ah,
Whoa.
wow. I just turned it on. Did you hear it?
I did.
I was like scrolling and I somehow accidentally pressed the play button.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't even know when that would have been though, because remember when I was trying to name the episodes all cool and then I gave up?
Yeah.
Like I named one of them a controversial ghillie suit master, but then I don't think anyone knew what that meant. But
They're
I
all
feel
like,
like
what
all the
the?
podcasts I listen to name their episodes something like random that they say.
Yeah.
Also, nice shot. It's a me, a Mario Golf.
Mario Golf.
Panic at the dungeon. Wow.
Classic.
Yeah. Anyways, I think I don't know. I feel like we talked about that at some point, but I just don't know. Clicking Kens and clashing beams.
That's a Dragon Ball one, right?
Yeah, I think so. Befriending Vegeta.
At
Wow.
least you know what you're getting.
Yeah. Bad Dads and Edge Lords. That's probably my favorite one. But we also have one called Aroused and Confused.
That one's pretty funny.
Hot Trunks and Android Orama. Wow, I used to have so much more energy. What happened in the last year?
School, I guess. Sophomores.
Yeah, these sophomores, man, they really killed me. If you're listening, you should feel bad. Nate, you don't have to feel bad. You're fine. But other sophomores, if you're listening, you should feel bad. You killed my longing to exist.
Creativity.
Yeah, it must have just been part of another episode. Anyways, okay. 1976, the first controversial video game, Death Race, is pulled off store shelves.
Oh.
The objective of the lo-fi black and white game that looks like a slightly more advanced version of Pong is to earn points by running over as many gremlins as possible with a given time frame.
Oh.
According to video game historian Steve L. Kent, what got everyone upset about Death Race was that you heard this little "ach" when the person got hit and a little gravestone came up. Due to public outcry, Death Race's manufacturer takes the game off the market.
Okay, well, couldn't handle it back then, huh?
Yeah. 1983. Custer's Revenge protested. In the game persona of General Custer, the player runs from enemy arrows toward a Native American woman strapped to a pole. Jeez, there's a lot of problematic things going
A
on there.
lot, yeah.
Once there, Custer would get it on with,
Oh
or
my
according to many critics, quote, rape the woman for points.
Yikes.
250 protesters gather at this. I thought I was going to say 250 points for a second. 250 protesters gather at the spot where the public is viewing the game for the first time, and it never finds much success.
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, okay. Then we skip ahead 10 years to 1993. Night Trap banned and Mortal Kombat scrutinized by Congress.
Mm.
The Sega CD version of Night Trap, which I don't know what that is, but is removed from store shelves at Toys R Us and FAO Schwartz locations in the United States in direct response to a December 9th, 1993 joint Senate Judiciary and Government Affairs Committee hearing on video game violence. Night Trap is cited as shameful, ultra-violent, sick, and disgusting, encouraging an effort to trap and kill women. Oh, I see why it's called Night Trap.
Yeah.
In particular, a scene in which the character Lisa is wearing a nightgown while captured by augurs attempting to drain her blood is found to be very offensive given the circumstances in which she is attacked, scantily clad in a private bedroom. The game's goal is not to trap or kill women, but to save them from harm.
So, based on this quick description I'm reading, it sounds like you, as the player, are watching all of these cams. There's like 8 cams in this house, and all these girls are over having a sleepover,
That in
visiting a
itself is
house,
kind of odd.
which is unbeknownst to them, full of vampires.
That explains the draining the blood.
Yeah, so the player watches footage, triggers traps to capture anyone endangering the girls. But I'm guessing if you fail, it's all these cutscenes that they were protesting.
Probably.
Interesting.
Mortal Kombat is the first game to feature lifelike realistic violence. So this is the same year. Together with Night Trap and Doom, it is the focus of the 1993 congressional hearings. The formation of the Entertainment Software Ratings Board as a self-regulated entity deflects potential government regulation, and Mortal Kombat stays in stores.
There you go.
1994, the Entertainment Software Rating Board, ESRB, is created. The ESRB, a self-regulatory organization that assigns age and content ratings to video games, is established by the Entertainment Software Association, formerly Digital Software Association. The rating system is strictly voluntary. However, nearly all video games are submitted for rating because many retail stores prohibit the sale of unrated video games, and the major console manufacturers will not license games for the systems unless they carry ESRB ratings. The formation of the ESRB deflects potential government regulation of video games.
Yeah, makes sense. It was Wild Wild West back then.
1995, Phantasmagoria is banned in some stores. I had to sound the word out the first time. Like Night Trap, this game features a helpless female as the central character, except I have to say it again. Phantasmagoria.
Phantasmagoria. Right? Yeah, you're right.
It's just a weird word.
Yeah.
Is extremely bloody, and sex and violence are closely linked. In fact, directly, as one video sequence is of a rape scene. It's a lot of rapey stuff in these video games.
Yeah, that's not good.
The game is banned in some retail outlets in the US.
So
now I have like a slightly darker shade of pink red.
Oh.
1997, Jack Thompson files first video game lawsuit. Anti-video game activist and attorney Jack Thompson files the first of what are to be a large number of lawsuits claiming video games are responsible for violence perpetrated by teens. The lawsuit is filed on behalf of the parents of 3 children killed in the Heath High School shooting in 1997. Investigations show that the perpetrator had regularly played various computer games, including Doom, Quake, Castle, Wolfenstein, Redneck Rampage, Nightmare Creatures, Mech Warrior, and Resident Evil. Accused some pornographic websites and owned a videotape of the Basketball Diaries, which includes a high school student dreaming about shooting his teachers and some classmates. That's a movie?
Huh. Yeah, that's
the suit alleges that the producers of the games, the movie, and the operators of the internet sites were negligent in distributing this material to a minor because it would desensitize him and make him more prone to violence. The suit is filed in federal district court and is dismissed for failing to present a legally recognizable claim. In July 2008, Thompson is permanently disbarred by the Florida Supreme Court for inappropriate conduct, including making false statements to tribunals and disparaging and humiliating litigants.
Wow.
Okay.
Cool guy.
The Basketball Diaries. I actually feel like I've heard of this. It's a book. Oh, it's a 1995 film with Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Wahlberg in it.
Hmm.
Speaking of Mark Wahlberg, apparently yesterday I was dressed like a divorced dad.
Okay.
um, I also was playing an accordion that my student brought to school during the passing period, and I think that didn't help. I was wearing my Skylines, these joggers that I don't like because they fit a little loose, and this dad hat and a white shirt.
Yeah.
And apparently, and I don't like those pants because they fit too baggy. Like they're literally a medium, but they're like really loose. And so one of my students like raised their hand and told me that basically pretty much I had multiple people tell me I look like a divorced dad, but I did have one girl be like, someone said that, and then stare at me and then tilt her head and be like, well, you don't look like my dad. I was like, thanks.
All right.
But then one of my other students told me that I look like Marky Mark in the 90s.
Hey, that's high praise.
I was like, I'll take that, you know? And they were like, honestly, yeah.
Heck
like,
yeah.
So anyways, I guess I dress like a divorced. That's not the first time that someone has told me I'm dressing like a divorced dad, but the other time was during Barbecue Dad Spirit Day. So
it made more sense.
It made more sense, yeah. All right, 1998. The release of Grand Theft Auto causes controversy. My mom would never let me play these. Even though the games were mine, I bought them with my own money. What a hoe. The game earns notoriety for its theme and approach almost immediately after it is released. The player's mission is to drive prostitutes around town, evade the feds, and run drugs and porn, and in the process, kill lots of people. In 2001, shortly after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the release of Grand Theft Auto 3 is postponed in order to alter content involving New York City.
Probably had to remove the towers and stuff.
Yeah. 1999. Video game panic reaches new heights following Columbine massacre. Once it is, I was also trying to think if I've heard about that other one, Heath High School. It sounds familiar, but I wonder if I've just heard it mentioned.
Probably in relation to newer ones.
Okay, once it is revealed that the two students who opened...
You're frozen. Are you still there?
Yeah. Am I still frozen?
You're choppy. I think you're back now.
Oh, it's fine for me, so hopefully it doesn't mess it up.
Okay.
Once it is revealed that the two students who opened fire at Columbine were fans of violent games, Doom in particular, which I don't, well, maybe I did know, but I just didn't know what Doom was, people begin to blame the games for the tragedy. Several families of Columbine victims file a federal lawsuit against 25 entertainment companies for allegedly causing the deaths. The suit is dismissed in 2002. Another case making similar allegations about a 1997 school shooting is dismissed by the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals the same year.
Interesting.
Also, we had like an assembly thing with the Rachel's Tears. Was that someone who was from this Columbine? Was that like a Columbine thing, or was that
with
a different
the what?
school? Do you remember in high school we had like some
no
presentation idea. And it was called like Rachel's Tears, and it was like about I thought it was like, oh yeah, the spiritual journey of Columbine martyr Rachel Scott. Like I think she was a survivor of the school shooting.
Oh, okay.
Do you not remember that?
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, it was in the auditorium. I think it was like our junior or senior year.
Huh.
So like someone came and talked to us about it. Okay. Anyways, the year 2000. Indianapolis enacts ordinance limiting minors' access to violent games. Just in Indianapolis specifically. The city ordinance would have forbidden any operator of 5 or more video game machines in one place from allowing a minor, so like an arcade, a minor unaccompanied by a parent, guardian, or other customer to use an amusement machine that is harmful to minors. How do you define that?
That's a good question.
It requires appropriate warning signs and that such machines be separated by a partition from the other machines. Sounds like a urinal. In the location and that their viewing areas be concealed from persons who are on the other side of the partition. The ordinance never goes into effect and is struck down by the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals the following year in American amusement machine Asin versus Kendrick. It's ASS apostrophe N. I don't
Hmm.
know. 2001 Surgeon General.
Association.
I've never seen that abbreviated like that. I was like,
Yeah,
Asin?
that
I
is a
don't know.
strange one.
2001 Surgeon General finds little correlation between media and violence. Surgeon General United States David Satcher, MD, PhD, leads a study on violence in youth and determines that while the impact of video games on violent behavior has yet to be determined, quote, findings suggest that media violence has a relatively small impact on violence. According to the report, the strongest risk factors for school shootings center on mental stability and the quality of home life, not media exposure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot in between like 1999 and like 2008.
Really getting
2002.
going.
Yeah, because technology was a booming. Federal
Mm-hmm.
legislation proposed. Oops, I clicked on a link. I didn't know there was a link. Okay. Federal legislation proposed to ban sale of violent video games to minors. U.S. Representative Joe Baca, D, California, that stands for Democrat, introduces a bill that would make
Ooh.
selling or renting video games to minors a federal crime. The bill is aptly named the Protect Children from Video Games, Sex, and Violence Act of 2003. Washington State introduces a similar law which would fine retailers $500 for selling violent games to minors.
Wow.
In 2003, there was more Grand Theft Auto controversy. Two Tennessee families sued the maker of Grand Theft Auto and other video game companies after a shooting in which the killer claimed he was imitating Grand Theft Auto 3. The suit is dismissed. Later the same year, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg pressures the game company to remove the line, quote, kill the Haitians from GTA Vice City following a wave of protests by Haitian American interest groups over the discriminatory content. The group also files suit in federal court, then removes the case to state court in Florida, which is expected to be less First Amendment friendly. That makes sense. Florida is not friendly to anything state, except old rich white people.
True. Yeah. Well, hopefully it says my internet is like fine, but it keeps giving me an unstable thing on Zoom. So hopefully that doesn't mess
Oh,
anything up.
that's weird. I mean, I'm reading, but I haven't noticed anything weird happening. So I
Okay.
take your
Well,
low.
fingers crossed.
I think if it's good for
Yep.
me, it usually is okay because it. But you must be hearing my audio late because sometimes you're saying stuff and I'm like, why is he waiting so long to talk? So maybe it is delaying your audio a little bit.
Probably.
2003 law professor speaks out against video games. Professor Kevin Saunders argues that video games cause violence and violence should be included with obscenity in a category of unprotected speech. That's it. 2004
Okay.
psychologist criticizes claims about link between video games and violence. Guy, anyone named Guy, you know, is going to have something to say.
Of
Guy
course.
Cumberbatch, PhD, director of the UK Communications Research Group, writes in a report, quote, the evident weakness in the individual studies and the general pattern of inconsistent findings would not normally lead us to expect researchers to make any strong claims about video games. However, this is far from the case. As with other research on media violence, some of the strongest claims are made on the most flimsy of evidence. The real puzzle is that anyone looking at the research evidence in this field could draw any conclusions about the pattern, let alone argue with such confidence and even passion that it demonstrates the harm of violence in television, in film, and in video games.
Fair enough. It's a lot of
Heck yeah.
info.
I know. I might try to summarize the next ones because they're all really similar. So, 2005, a federal court in Illinois finds video game statute unconstitutional. So there was a permanent injunction against enforcement of a law that bans the distribution to a minor of any video game with a certain violent content, requires such games to be labeled as restricted to adult only, and requires retailers to post signs explaining that. So I mean that's normal stuff you see in a store.
Yep.
Um, Senator Hillary Clinton advocates for new regulations on a video game sale after controversy over the sexually explicit hot coffee modification made available online for Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I wanted Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, but my mom wouldn't let me get it.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even allowed to play Call of Duty till I was like 17 or 18. So
Do you know what the hot coffee modification is?
I have no idea.
That sounds so weird.
I'm gonna do some quick search here.
Okay. Um, let's see. A professor debunks So a lot of professors who are either debunking or stating that there is a connection. So in 2005, a different professor says that uh, people serving time for violent crimes typically consume less media before committing their crime than the average person. So the people committing violent crimes are not playing video games or, um, you know,
Not a real correlation.
yeah, and there was some connection between like young offenders, but that's really only because there are more young people playing video games than there are older people playing video games.
Yeah. So apparently, hot coffee is the unofficial name for a mini game in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. It was not playable in the original game release, but the modding community does what modders do,
Mm-hmm.
discovered hidden code, and when that was enabled, it allows the protagonist to have animated sexual intercourse with his in-game girlfriend. So you can play that mini game apparently if you had it modded.
Can you have sex on The Sims?
Probably, but it's probably, probably
You
just
can
what
like
shows
voice it
them
out or something.
rolling in a bed or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all
Um.
the other sexual stuff in San Andreas, I think they just implied it. They like put you in a truck or something and you can, see anything.
Um. In 2006, Michigan and Louisiana found video game laws unconstitutional, so they granted injunctions against laws barring um video game like content stuff for minors. Our buddy Jack Thompson filed another lawsuit against several companies, claiming that Grand Theft Auto Vice City caused a teenager in New Mexico to, quote, act out, copycat, replicate, and emulate the violence when he murdered his father, stepmother, and stepsister.
Well,
Um, he also filed a suit in Florida to have video game to have the same video game removed from store shelves, calling it a nuisance and Columbine Simulator. And the
hmm,
Florida judge determined there was no content in the game that was not already on late night television. Fair.
fair. Yeah.
Oklahoma has a video game law struck down. So this is actually interesting because it's like West Coast states are like, yes, we don't want to sell video games to minors with these things, which I feel like is fair. But
Yeah.
then all these like southern states are like, no, we're barring this law. You can sell whatever you want to minors.
Yeah. They're like, who gives a shit?
Yeah. And then in 2007, a different professor, there's a lot of back and forth with the professors. So in 2007, a different professor, Craig Anderson, and his colleagues published Violent Video Game Effects on Children and Adolescents Theory, Research, and Public Policy, in which they claim that exposure to violent video games and other forms of media constitutes a significant factor for later aggressive and violent behavior. They argue that society should begin a more productive debate about whether to reduce the high rates of exposure and delineate the public policy options that are likely to be most effective. So they
Hmm,
claim that this stuff should have happened 30 years ago. So, like when the video games came out, basically, or within the first 10 years.
sure.
But it also says that this research has been widely criticized for overstating the results and failing to adequately acknowledge alternate views or limitations, which, as a writing teacher, those two things are very important to do in your writing. So,
For sure.
um, 2008, Minnesota video game ban enjoined. That's weird phrasing. The Eighth Circuit Court struck down a Minnesota law that bars anyone from under 17 from buying or renting a game rated mature adults only. Enjoins. Game ban enjoined.
Yeah. I'm not
But
sure what that
isn't this
means.
saying that they struck down the law so people under 17 can buy those games?
I
Some of this
guess
wording
if
is
they
weird.
got rid of it.
Mental health experts disclaim link between games. So there's just a bunch of like PhD
It's
people
kind of like
going
the
back and forth.
cycle.
Yeah, it's like the hot new thing to study in your professorship, I guess, where they're just, because this was like the days, the era when technology was becoming more normal to have access to.
Yeah.
Um, so these ones are saying that or they disclaim truth about violent video games. It's clear that the big fears bandied about in the press that all these things are not supported by any current research.
Just claims.
In 2009, in Schwarzenegger versus Entertainment Merchants Association, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit rules, in sum, the evidence presented by the state does not support the legislators' purported interest in preventing psychological or neurological harm. None of the research establishes or suggests a casual link between minors playing video games and actual psychological or neurological harm, and inferences to that effect would not be reasonable. So,
don't talk that shit.
The American Academy of Pediatrics Council on Communications and Media in 2009 writes that exposure to violence in media, including TV, movies, music, and video games, represents a significant risk to the health of children and adolescents. Extensive research evidence indicates that media violence can contribute to aggressive behaviors, desensitization to violence, nightmares, and fear of being harmed. I'm almost done. Bless.
Nice.
In 2010, the Supreme Court agrees to decide constitutionality of video game statute. So the Supreme Court granted the state of California's petition to review the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals decision, the one I read a couple points ago. The California law limited distribution of video games with certain violent content and barred the sale or rental of video games with violent content. The Supreme Court heard the argument on November 2nd. And then, is this the same one? And then a year later, they found the law unconstitutional. They ruled 7-2 that the California law restricting the sale of distribution of violent video games to minors was unconstitutional. The majority opinion established video games as protected under the First Amendment, saying that speech about violence is not obscene.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, TV shows and stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder, but then, so does that mean that if you go to like California, you can buy like a game rated mature if you're like 14?
Probably. I don't see
Because you
why
can't
you
hear
couldn't.
still, right? Like I'm pretty like I've been.
Yeah, I
like,
think you
used to buy
still get
games
carded.
before.
You have to be 17 or something.
Yeah. And then in 2012, more mass shootings stir debates of the tragic shooting at Sandy Hook, reopened the debate over the effects of media violence and especially the playing of violent video games. And that was, I think, yeah, this is mentioning it, that it was the same year as the shooting in Colorado, I think, the one in the movie theater. Wasn't that during like the Batman movie or something?
Yeah, it was.
So I don't know, so Massachusetts, which is not a state either of those two things happened in, had already pulled arcade games with the plastic guns from, I guess there used to be those in rest areas in Massachusetts. Yes, and so they pulled them. God, man, that'd be great. The rest stops here suck. The ones in Oregon are pretty good, but yeah, so they pulled those and replaced them with more appropriate games.
Okay, yeah.
So, and that's where this ends. So I guess it hasn't been updated in like 11 years. I've never lived in a place where you haven't had to be carded to buy video games, although like, most of the video games I've purchased. Well, what do they do for online video games then? Do you have to have like a parent?
That's a good question. I don't know if they do anything. I mean, what can they do? It seems like they're getting looser on like, I can just get alcohol delivered now and I don't always have to sign for it anymore. So like it's,
yeah, but don't you have your ID entered into your like delivery account? Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, that's weird. It might depend on where you're buying it from, or if the account, maybe it depends on how you set up the account. So, like, if your parents sent you, because I know on some platforms, or you can set up like a kid account. So maybe the parent has to be doing that in advance. But yeah, I don't know. Because I mean, all these kids be like purchasing Call of Duty, So like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
must not be
weird.
that.
I wonder if it's like a thing in stores still, but because we live in Washington, but maybe when the games are sold online, maybe it's different.
Yeah,
because you can also just like buy any game on Amazon.
Yeah,
there's no way
just
for
have
them
it
to like
delivered.
check your ID. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird world. Digital.
I did pull up one that was like the 10 biggest controversies in the last 20 years. So I'm going to scroll through and see if there's any ones past 2013 just to like throw in. So the number 10 is the hot coffee incident, which we already mentioned.
Yep.
Number 9 is Kingdoms of Amalur's publisher actually borrowed money from the government to make their game. So I guess that's a different type of controversy.
Yeah, a little bit illegal.
38 Studios. Oh, it was a video game company formed by baseball player Kurt Schilling. He formed a video game company. Well, I feel like for as
Weird.
much of a baseball nerd as I was, that's weird that I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Um, but while they waited on something they were an MMO called Project Copernicus, they acquired a separate project with the help of Big Huge Games. And he had started the company, Schilling did, with $75 million loan from Rhode Island, from like the state of Rhode Island, which put
Probably
him
just a
under
broker there.
immense pressure. I don't know, it just says from Rhode Island.
Hmm.
And it did say government money, so I mean, I feel like he borrowed money from the state of Rhode Island, but
Weird.
I don't know. But then they filed for bankruptcy 3 months after launching their game Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Hmm. All right.
I don't know that I've ever heard of that game before, but it has a 9 out of 10 review on Steam. So
Well, can't be that bad.
yeah. Okay. Grand Theft Auto had a torture scene. I think it mentioned, well, I don't know that anything I read mentioned Grand Theft Auto 5. Um
Yeah, that was fairly. I mean, what 5 was like 13 or 14. So
yeah, so about when that cut off. So it had a scene in which one of the main characters participates in torture and you couldn't opt out of it. So you had to do it in order to keep playing the story.
gotcha.
Number 7, Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 had the most downvoted Reddit post of all time. These are very different controversies.
Yeah.
Um, Also, even though I don't have anything to play it on, I kept my 2005 copy.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Um, EA's attempt to explain themselves on Reddit resulted in the most downvoted post of all time.
Solid.
Um, and it was that their beta revealed that EA was relying on loot boxes to give players an advantage in multiplayer mode, meaning the game was literally play to win, I guess.
Yeah.
Number 6, Mass Effect 3 rendered all the players' choices in previous games irrelevant. I don't really know anything about Mass Effect, but
It's at least the
I guess
first two
if
are considered very good games.
and so are you continuing on as the same player? Is that the thing?
Yes. Hmm.
So it's basically saying you played these two games and it's worthless to you now because that
Kind
what you
of,
did doesn't
because
matter.
that's the bad thing about choice games, right? Because how do you make a sequel in which everyone chose the same things? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. What's Dragon Age? It says this is a reason why Dragon Age is better.
Dragon Age is kind of like a, I don't want to say it's like Diablo because it's another like RPG type
I feel like I've
game.
heard of it.
Hmm.
No Man's Sky caused fans to be furious when they couldn't play with one another.
No Man's Sky was a really bad one. I remember
It
that.
went from being constantly featured by Sony to not even being mentioned by them.
Yeah, I think they took it out of like their digital stores and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2077 was the biggest disappointment of the last generation.
Yeah, it had a lot of hype behind it, and then it ran like dog shit on PS4. So you needed like the brand new console to even play it, and even on that, it was like buggy and weird.
Yeah, it says that they took it off the Sony took it off the store because they were tired of issuing refunds and they only put it back on there 7 full months after it released.
Yeah, once it was working.
Number 3, Watch Dogs caused fans to re-examine how they looked at game trailer footage. When it released, the game's graphics didn't come close to matching up with the most powerful platforms available. The game was one of
Mm,
the first to make players realize that some gameplay footage could be shown at a conference and yet not. So yeah, so like the trailer's not matching what the game is actually.
yeah,
Um,
promising too much.
Resident Evil 5 had racist undertones in both its promotional material and the game itself. The initial character or trailer caused an extremely negative reaction among some viewers as it showed a white protagonist killing off a ton of black characters. The trailer, as well as the game, pulled on a lot of horror-y, Hoary, Stereotypes of savage black people needing a white savior to save them, and an Africa not at all accurate to the actual Africa that citizens of the continent are familiar with.
Mm.
And number one, Diablo Immortal enraged a collection of fans that were looking for a new Diablo on their computers, not their phones.
Yeah, that was a big one. It's a new mobile game. Everyone's like, who cares?
Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
a different type of controversy for the most part. I didn't look through that one before we started, but you know, I
Yeah.
wonder if I feel like the whole video game thing has kind of died down about whether or not it causes violence, but maybe that's just because there's like so much violence that it seems silly to pin it on just video games.
Yeah, it's like clearly this is not really the problem, but you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit longer than normal because we talked about weird shit for so long before we started, but oh well, I guess.
You get some extra this week.
Yeah, extra content for all like 30 of you.
Heck yeah. Appreciate.
Yeah. Well, we might do some sort of giveaway in the future soon when school's out and my brain has time to process. Um,
Yeah.
and if you're into nerd love stories, I guess, go check out Wattpad. There's
I guess so.
some super steamy stories waiting for you over there.
There sure are. A
Yeah.
bunch of
And
weird ones, it sounds
Scott's
like.
honestly, he's gonna start writing some. So
Yeah, if you pay me some Patreon dollars, maybe I will.
yeah, well, you
Write
know what
whatever
you
you
could
want.
do is you could take those like 90 pages of the balance that you have written from high school and just rewrite it a little bit steamier.
Ah.
Yeah,
Who knows
because
where that even is though?
no, I have it because I found it on
Oh,
my
you still
external
have
hard
it.
drive. Yeah, like it
Nice.
was like deep in my files and has been like in the files that I transferred from hard drive to hard drive. So it was on my original external hard
uh
drive. But then when I got my new one, I transferred all those files over and I found it. It's actually on my computer because I didn't want to lose it. So I have it saved in multiple places.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's right here, the balance, and then the balance revised because you started to retype it.
Oh, right. You go
Yeah.
through those phases where you're like, I gotta fix it.
Yeah, I think you should like finish writing it, you know? I could help you. It could be a book and it could say Scott Linya and Kendra Waters, you know?
Good.
Because all those
I wanted
podcast
like,
hosts, they be writing their books together, you know?
yeah. I have a little like I
75
have another
pages.
like story idea that I've been like playing around with for like the last, I don't know, like 5 years or something. Um that I've always been like, man, it'd be cool if I could like write it and then like someone could like edit it and then Jackie could like illustrate and be like a graphic novel.
Oh yeah, I feel like you talked about that once during COVID
So
or something.
yeah, but I mean, who has the time?
Yeah. I'm gonna make myself write every morning for an hour when school's out.
Nice.
Yeah. Can I read you your intro?
Oh God. Sure.
Okay. The year is 2001, September 17th, and the world is devastated at the massive disaster and destruction of 9/11. Families are shaken to their absolute core as they comprehend what has happened to thousands of people just like them. Many people's faith in God is faltering, asking themselves, how could he possibly allow this to happen? Many were asking, where is he now when they needed him most? In the United States' hour of need. Consequently, some people who followed him leave the idea of God far behind. Some stayed with God and knew he would make a move. The unshakable followers who would help him. Unknown to all, God was infuriated and staged an uprising, and in turn, Satan was forced to also. I would know. I had the job of stopping Satan and God. There must always be a balance. And the third god, unknown to all, Zalanos, had the job of being neutral and must keep the balance by bringing both of them down. I was the soul Zalanos chose to be his oracle, and I needed to stand against the oracles both God and Satan had chosen for their uprising. My name is Zane Strike, and this is my story.
That's like super edgy 2000s writing right
That is
there.
Scott projecting his edge lord Vegeta into the world
Edge.
through paper or
Pretty
Microsoft
much.
Word. Yeah. I mean, I
That's
thought it
pretty
was like a
funny.
cool concept though.
Yeah.
You have further like everything I've tried to write, I've stopped at like 20 pages. So I mean, you've got like a pretty, 45,502 words.
Jesus, when did I have time to do all that?
I high school, man. What else were you doing?
I guess so. True.
Yeah. Anyways, I always thought it was like a good concept. You could
Yeah,
actually turn that into like a graphic novel too.
that's true. That wouldn't be that hard to do either.
Yeah. You can make it a manga and people could read it backwards. That's so hard for me. I cannot. I like the My Hero. Is that what I got? Was it My Hero?
I thought you got like Goblin Slayer or something like
Oh
that.
yeah. I don't yeah. Is that the I don't honestly I can't remember. But it was so hard for me to turn the pages the wrong direction. Anyways, I have that on my computer and the version that you had started to revise. It looks like the intro is longer on the revised version. But
Hmm. Probably a little
um
less edgy.
I don't know, man. I think you revised it like less than a year later. So
Oh,
also weren't
probably
you
same
like
age.
writing a story in your notebook that
Edwards.
Mr. Edwards lost?
Yeah, I was.
Oh, it is actually written a little bit nicer. It is less edgy.
Just
Yeah.
dial it back a little bit, you know? You
Mm-hmm.
burn all that edge out right away.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you used fancier fonts in the title.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah. So Scott
Anyhow,
wrote that in like 2008 or something.
something.
Um, and one time we printed it at my house. Do you remember that?
I
We like,
remember.
I think we like printed it and gave it to Jennifer or something.
Oh,
And it
jeez.
was like literally printed it on my dad's printer, and it was like a
I
thick
was like,
ass stack of
bam.
paper. And my dad buys like the nice quality paper, so it was
Mm.
like thick with like 4 C's. It does squats. Like that
Yeah,
was a thick stack.
sure was.
Um. Anyways, we're gonna wrap this episode up. Um. But yeah, maybe in the future we'll do a giveaway over on our Instagram. So if you're not already, you should go follow us over there at five the number five MMPOD. Actually, just follow us on all our social media platforms because I've been kind of posting more lately, and sometimes Scott posts on Twitter.
Yeah,
But I feel like you should do like like funny Twitter posts too, like out of pocket things.
like unrelated.
Yeah. Anyway, so follow us at five the number five MMPOD. You can use our hashtag 5MMPOD. You can send us an email with topic suggestions to 5FIVE more minutes pod at gmail.com. You can leave us a rating and a review, like and subscribe, download our episodes. Um, yeah. Share us with your friends and family, your friends who are your family, and your family who's more like friends and family.
Yeah. So then, until next time, we're clocking out.
Yeah, bye, bitches.
See you.
Yee.
Whoa.